Hi, I'm Sterling Hart, and this is Dreamlight, where we work with dream interpretation and using the insights in the waking time. This is a second part of a video on crazy in dreams. If you haven't seen the first part, there's a link above and a link below to the first video. You don't necessarily need to see them in order, but it probably would be helpful. So we're working with dream examples of the various categories. So another Call Me Crazy was from a guy at a dream workshop. He worked with a dream where he was being committed. When he arrived at the institution, it was a family holiday. He worked out that he was afraid of his kids using drugs. The institution symbol related to his obligations and his role as a father. The committed symbol worked in two ways. It represented how responsibility restricted his freedom and how he felt committed to do the best he could. He thought it was the funny farm because he thought fatherhood would be natural and was surprised by how he felt at times. It felt unnatural, and he thought there might be something wrong with him. His kid treated him as unreasonable. The kid got involved with drugs. The father was afraid he would fail his kid. He thought the situation was going to quickly end with institutionalization in some form, jail or rehab for the kid. This is a theme found in Call Me Crazy. You can internalize things sometimes. You can be involved in a system that is dysfunctional, but instead of thinking it's the system, you think you're the one with the problem. For instance, work might be badly managed and poorly organized, but you experience it as feeling as though you aren't good enough or working hard enough. Hence the t-shirt. You don't have to be crazy to work here. We'll train you. The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone is when we see or experience something that makes us question our reality. This can appear in dreams. It is common lucid dream technique to use our sense of reality in a dream to realize we are dreaming. So if you see a cow with wings on a motor scooter and you think, that isn't real, I must be dreaming, then it allows you to become lucid. Or you may react by saying, this is crazy. There can be a sense or mood of this can't be happening, a surreal feeling. This can occur in stress-related dreams. For example, I knew of a guy who dreamed he was in a car with several co-workers, part of a team of engineers, and one of them, a woman with a key role in their team, was driving. He suddenly grabbed at the wheel. Then the dream became third person, and he saw the car flip over the railing of an overpass and land, crushing the driver. His thought was, this can't really be happening. This isn't real. Then the dream replayed, but this time in first person. He thought that he shouldn't grab the wheel, but he did it, and the car flipped and landed in the river. As the water was flooding in, he knew he was upside down, but the dream view was still right side up. He thought, this isn't real. It must be a recorded dream. Then he was fiddling with the dream recording machine, looking to see if someone had tampered with it. The dreamer knew what the content was about and was disturbed on waking up. He was afraid that his job was in danger. In the waking life, the woman doing the driving had been worried about her job since their team project wasn't going well. They had an obstacle and they hadn't been able to solve the problem. He thought the car represented his work. The third-person perspective was an overview or represented trying to look at it objectively. He didn't like thinking about his job rather than the project at work since it didn't really help anything. The replay meant to him that he was going through another scenario of what could happen. He would imagine what was going to happen if they failed and how it would play out. The river to him was associated with fear. His brother had almost drowned when he was little. His brother had waded into a river that started to rise, and he hadn't realized the danger. So there is an underlying, below-the-road fear. The dream machine and the tampering he associated with all the corporate security at work. This represented his own self-scrutiny. He had noticed that he was thinking more and more that they would fail and that changes would have to be made. A co-worker had recently been fired and lost their company phone. They had been escorted off the premises immediately. Most of their personal contact information had been on the phone, and they had to ask friends and others to recover cell phone numbers. At the same time, he thought that he would be just moved to a new project, but it still made him anxious. He also started to think through his financial situation in case he was unemployed for a while. He thought that he was not able to focus well. Sometimes someone would say something and set off his worry. In the dream, this was grabbing the wheel. He said he couldn't stop from thinking about what happens if. But at the same time, it isn't real, and the fear was blowing things out of proportion. This can't be happening, or can't happen this way, is often related to the fear of a loss of control. If we can't control our mind, what can we control? We say that the person just lost it. What is the it? It's the self-control. Is there something in your life that you are not able to make work, to do, or to keep going? Is there something you realize you can't control? Is it you or the situation? Are those two things separate? Sometimes there are changes to beliefs, and we are forced by circumstances to see the limitation of our ideas or to accept new ones. For instance, in the waking time, I had a coworker who heard a voice inside their head tell them that there had been a fire at home. Within minutes, they got a phone call telling them the news. The voice made my coworker freak out and think they were crazy because they strongly held the belief you can't know events before they happen. It made them examine all the voices. These can appear in dreams. We experience something in the dream and then conclude we must be crazy. In the waking times, we may be confronting irrational arguments, questionable decisions, bad planning, unrealistic expectations, or a sudden new awareness or idea that changes how we view the world. We may need to change our ideas or actually look at the arguments from another point of view. Do you have something that doesn't make sense in your life? There's also crazy as a metaphor. In the 80s, we used to use the expression bad crazy or good crazy. Bad crazy referred to someone dangerous or reckless or criminally involved with something, and good crazy was someone who had a new idea or wanted change. This could indicate a role or personality in the dream. Is there something in your life that is reckless or out of control? Do you feel people see you as an instigator? Are you excited by new possibilities? Do you have a new project? Is there a connection to a relationship? We also used to say it was part of the general insanity. It's foobar. So political events or world conditions can appear in dreams. Is there something that strikes you as crazy in the world? Probably a pretty long list, so you're looking for the first thing that comes to mind or something that has struck you before. Things we pay attention to in the news often have our egos projected onto them, and it is not the world but your feelings that are appearing in dreams, and these may be linked to other things. Does their elevator not quite reach the top floor? Why are you attracted to particular news items? Emotions can be habits, and there is a chemistry in the body that changes with emotions, and they can be addicting. They can be a tool of the ego, such as a kid throwing a tantrum to get their own way. Dreams can point to these emotional habits. So your dream character going crazy in a dream can refer to something taking over the mind. So sometimes we have the mental thought to do something or not do something, but we have this emotional habit of reacting in a certain way. And this can appear in dreams as these two conflict with each other. What do you think made them act that way in the dream? Is there an emotional reaction that doesn't serve you? Albert Einstein is credited with saying, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results." What about crazy genius, the mad scientist? Fear of mental illness is often a fear of losing self-control, the fear of the death, if not of the body, then of the ego. For instance, the fear of dementia can be about the loss of family, but also the loss of self-control, losing your way of life, and being a potential burden to others. It can also be a symbol of the opposite, needing to loosen your grip on reality. You need to let go or loosen your need to control things. Consider. Go a little bit crazy, meaning to do something spontaneous or go have fun, to relive stress. Crazy love, or love that makes you do crazy things. This is because the first time you fall in love can be a powerful mind-bending experience. It can be the Twilight Zone, where you can't get the person out of your head. You think about them all the time. You no longer control your thoughts. A fear of not being good enough can appear in a dream as something wrong with you. Do you feel inadequate, not up to the task? Don't think you're right for the job? You have a disease, or someone in the dream starts calling you crazy, is another way in which the feelings of insecurity and anxiety about things can be symbolized. Instead of you feeling it, do we perceive it as coming from others? Like being afraid strangers are angry at you. You project your inward states onto others by making an assumption. In the dream, the others are aspects of yourself. When you go to do something in the dream, it appears as unreal, a hallucination. It can be a fear of not seeing what is really going on, or you recognize something isn't as it appears. Is there something that doesn't add up, that seems strange? How strongly do you react? In the dream, do you know you are crazy, or are you being told you are crazy? Is the illness labeled, or is there some symptom present in the dream? If we think the brain's not working right, then in the dream it is pointing to something that is dysfunctional, or we are labeling some aspect of our self-esteem. This can be a reaction to outer conditions. A dream about a named mental illness could be a label, an identity, or role. If you associate crazy with split personalities, this could mark the emergence of a new sense of self. It could be that you are aware in a new way or feeling different, or are growing and a new sense is contrasting with the old sense of self. It can also mark being one way with some people, but another way with others. If you just met a new friend and you got to explore new things, see a different side of yourself, then the dream might be showing you some unease about the new aspects of self, either because of a mental or emotional conflict. You don't think of yourself that way, or you feel like you're betraying other friends. You don't feel yourself. You don't know who you are. Hallucinations can represent some sort of refusal to believe something is happening, or sensing some falsehood or misrepresentation or delusion. It can also be you are trying to talk yourself into something or are doubting yourself. This is very common when we have strong desires. The desires may lead us to unrealistic expectations or unrealistic scenarios about how we think things will play out. So in a dream, if someone said you live in a fantasy world, it's only that way in your head, this is doubt speaking. When we are trying to accomplish something, doubt is often in the mix. Do you want something you don't believe you can have? Sometimes crazy represents a struggle. You got to get a little crazy in order to find a way through the situation. You have to act out of character. Dreams of being crazy can be helpful in clarifying your thoughts, beliefs, and values concerning mental health. That reflects your self-conception. One of the benefits of looking at dreams is to get to ask questions and examine your mind and experience. Something you might never examine suddenly gets brought into the light of your personal practice. So they're very rich. I personally wake up saying, I just had the craziest dream. If you got something out of this video, please hit the like. If you want more dreams, please hit the subscribe.